Hello everyone. Let us solve a question which is given in GATE 2021. The topic is instruction set architecture. Consider the following instruction sequence where registers R1, R2 and R3 are general purpose and memory location X denotes the content at the memory location X. Memory of X denotes the content at the memory location X. There is a program given in which the instruction is depicted. Right next to the instruction, the operation is also shown. That is, when you execute the instruction, it leads to the corresponding operation. This is the operation that is going to be performed as the result of the execution of this instruction. And this instruction is going to hold a size which is given here. In the main memory, this specific instruction is going to occupy, for an example, the first instruction is going to occupy 4 bytes. Similarly, when it comes to the second instruction, this is the operation and this is also a 4-byte instruction. The third instruction is a 2-byte instruction. Fourth instruction is a 4-byte instruction. Fifth instruction is a 2-byte instruction. Sixth instruction is a 2-byte instruction. Seventh instruction is also 2-byte instruction. And finally, the halt instruction, the final instruction, which is going to stop the entire program, is of just one byte. Assume that the content of the memory location 5000 is 10 and the content of register R3 is equal to 3000. The content of each memory location from 3000 to 3010 is 50. The instruction sequence starts from the memory location 1000. All the numbers are in decimal format. Here, whatever the number that you are watching are just nothing but in the decimal format. Assume that the memory is byte addressable. After the execution of the program, the content of the memory location 3010 is what? This is the question. If you want to understand and find out what is the content of 3000 right after the execution of the program, first of all, we should be able to dry run the program. We should be able to execute this program in a dry run method. We are going to understand what are the contents of the registers and memory locations initially, and how these are going to be get manipulated right after the execution of each and every instruction we are going to understand. But before that, if you think sensible, you're going to come to a conclusion straight away. What is the content of the memory location 3010 without even dry running the program? First, we will see that, after which let us also dry run the program and find out what is the content of the memory location 3010 right after the execution of the program, and we check the value. Now let us have a look at. Initially, the registers R1, R2 and R3. The values we need to find out. R1 value hasn't been given in the program and R2 is also not initialized, but R3 has been initialized. What is the value of R3? The value of R3 as given in the question is equal to 3000. But the R1 and R2 are not initialized at all. Now first, in order to understand how these are initialized, let us start with the execution of the program. In the very first instruction, R1 is being initialized. How? The value at the memory location 1000 is getting transferred to R1. So R1 will be initialized by the value which is available at the memory location 1000. First of all, you need to find out what is the value at the memory location 5000. What is the value of the memory location 5000? The value at the memory location 5000 is 10. So right after the execution of the first instruction, R1 will become 10. R1 will be equal to 10. Now let us see. Move R2 comma R3. That is, whatever the contents that are available at R3 are going to show you a memory address. From that memory address, a value will get transferred to R2, and then R2 and R1 will get added, and finally it will get transferred to R2. And after execution of the third instruction, the value of the R2 will get transferred to a memory location which is located at the register R3. We're going to understand completely what it is, how it is going to get executed. But first of all, let us understand the description of each and every instruction. After which R3 will get incremented, R1 will get decremented. BNZ 1004 branch if not 0 to the given absolute address. That is, right after decrementing R1, if the R1 value doesn't become 0, we are going to 1004. That is, a loop is going to get repeated again. Here, this program involves in a loop. This loop will get repeated according to the value of the R1. If the R1 value becomes 0, then loop gets terminated. Otherwise, loop doesn't get terminated, right? So we'll see for how many times loop is going to get repeated. Loop is going to get repeated for R1 number of times because loop is based on R1, right? So loop is totally going to get repeated for 10 times because the moment R1 becomes 0, loop gets terminated. If the R1 value doesn't become 0, again there will be a loop to 1004. So loop is only going to get repeated for 10 times, during which memory locations from 3000 to 3010 will get updated. But the thing is, if you count the total number of memory location from 3000 to 3010, total number of memory locations are 11. The total number of memory locations will be equal to 11. And loop will get terminated right after you update 3009. It doesn't go to 3010 at all. That is, loop will get terminated before the memory location 3010 will get updated. Only from 3000 to 3009 memory locations, the values will get manipulated. The values in the 3000 to 3009 will get manipulated because the loop is getting repeated only for 10 times. So before we go to 3010, before we go to update 3010, the loop will get terminated and the contents of the memory location 3010 will not get updated at all. So this 3010 will remain the same. Initially, right from 3000 to 3010, each and every memory location is initialized to 50. So the value of the content of the memory location 3010 will never get updated. So the answer will be 50. So when you look at the question, you will get a conclusion directly. You will come to a conclusion directly that the value of the memory location 3010 will never get updated. This is even before we dry run the program. This is the eventual answer that we're going to get. Now what we do is we dry run the program and compare the solution. So far what we have done, we just have a look at the program and with a common sense we got to know that loop is only going to get repeated for 10 times, during which only 10 memory locations will get updated. But the 11th memory location, which is at 3010, will not get updated. The 11th value, which is at 3010, will not get updated. So the value will still remain the same, that is 50. Now we are going to testify our answer by dry running the program. Let us dry run the program. Have a look at this. Initially, memory location 5000 is equal to 10. From 3000 to 3010 is equal to 50. I did not put it here. Right from 3000 to 3010 are equal to 50. As a first thing, within the first instruction, the value of the 5000 will get transferred to R1. That is, R1 will be equal to 10. And then value of R3 is equal to 3000, also given in the question. Now let us look at the second question. Rather, the second instruction. The second instruction is memory of 5000 will get transferred to R1. What is memory of 5000? Memory of 5000 will be equal to 10. Rather, this is the first instruction. This is already executed. Second instruction is memory of R3 will get transferred to R2. What is memory of R3? R3 is equal to 3000. Memory of R3 is equal to 50. If there is an instruction like this, when a register is specified in the braces, that means that the value which is available in the instruction is going to show a memory address. So here R3 value is a memory address. So when R3 to R2 is being transferred, it means that the value which is at the memory location R3 is getting transferred to R2. As a result, the value which is at the 3000 will get transferred to R2. Okay, next instruction is R1 is equal to R1 plus R2. Rather, R2 is equal to R2 plus R1. You can clearly see add R2 comma R1, meaning R2 is equal to R1 plus R2. As a result, R2 value will get updated as 60, as R2 is equal to 50 and R1 is equal to 10. So R2 value is equal to 60. The next thing is R2 value will get transferred to memory of R3. That is, the value of R2 will get transferred to M of R3. We'll confirm that. You can clearly see R2 value will get transferred to M of R3, right? So what is the R2 value? 60. What is M of R3? M of R3 is equal to memory of 3000. So this 50 will get updated as 60. Okay. After which R3 will get incremented. R3 is equal to R3 plus 1. So R3 will become 3001. And R1 will get decremented. R1 is equal to R1 minus 1, that is 9. So as the loop is getting terminated at R1, we are going to have one more iteration because R1 value is not equal to 0 but 9. So there will be one more iteration. You can clearly see right after we transfer the value R2 to R3, R3 will get decremented, R3 will get incremented, R1 will get decremented. As R1 value is not equal to 0, we are going to branch back to 1004. That is, we are going to have one more iteration. So in the second iteration, what is going to happen? Same thing is going to get repeated. How the things are going to get manipulated in the second iteration, if you can see, we're going to get a complete idea what is the outcome of this total program. Yeah. Second thing is, again, as the very first instruction, what is going to happen? Memory of R3 will get transferred to R2. What is memory of R3? Memory of R3 is 3001 right now. Memory of R3 is 3001 right now. Right? 3001 will get transferred to R2. So memory of 3001, which is equal to 50, will get transferred to R2. So the R2 value is equal to 50. Then R2 is equal to R2 plus R1. Now R1 value is just 9 because in the previous case R1 value got decremented. So R2 value becomes 59. R2 is equal to 59. And then R2 value will get transferred to 3001. 59. Now, as you can clearly see, as the course of the problem, as the course of the instructions are getting executed in the problem or a program, whatever you call, each of the memory location in every iteration are getting decremented. The values available at each of these memory location are being decremented. So 3000 will be equal to 60, 3001 will be equal to 59, 3002 is equal to 58, and so on. Okay. And finally, when it comes to 3009, it will get terminated. It will be 51, after which it will get terminated. 3010, the contents of the 3010 will not get updated at all. So even if you dry run, you're going to understand that the value of the 3010 will never get updated at all. This is the answer for this question. Thank you. The value of the 3010 will be equal to 50. Now let us solve a question which is given in GATE 2021 in the topic of pipelining. This question is a simple question which is given for 1 mark. By applying a simplest formula, we will be able to solve this. The question is a 5-stage pipeline, it is not 5-stage, it is a 5-stage pipeline, has a stage delays of 150, 120, 150, 160 and 140 nanoseconds. We do have a 5-stage pipeline in which each of the stages are taking these delays. The registers that are used between the pipeline stages have a delay of 5 nanoseconds each. You know that between each stage of a pipeline, there will be an intermediate register which is going to take the output from the previous stage and will be fed as an input to the next stage. And these intermediate registers also will have some delay. The delay of each of the registers is 5 nanoseconds. The total time, what is the total time to execute 100 independent instructions on this pipeline, assuming there are no pipeline stalls? First of all, we need to find out what is the total time to execute 100 different instructions, 100 independent instructions, if they are executed in our pipeline. For that, what we do is we will draw the pipeline stages. First stage, second stage, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, and stage 5. There are 5 stages, namely S1, S2, S3, S4, S5. And the delay of each of these stages are given in the question. The first one delay is 150 nanoseconds. The second stage delay is 120 nanoseconds. And the third stage delay is 150 nanoseconds. And the fourth stage delay is 160 nanoseconds. And the fifth stage delay is 140 nanoseconds. And the intermediate registers, which are used to connect each and every pipeline from the previous stage to the next stage, also taking some delays, which is of 5 nanoseconds each. Each of these intermediate registers R1, R2, R3, R4, R5 having a delay, stage delay, rather, the register delay, which is equal to 5 nanoseconds. Now, how to calculate TP? You know how to calculate TP. TP will be calculated as max stage delay plus max register delay. What is the max stage delay? Max stage delay is 160 nanoseconds plus max register delay is 5 nanoseconds. And there is no difference in register delays. All are having the uniform delay, which is equal to 5 nanoseconds. So the max stage delay is 160 nanoseconds and max register delay is 5 nanoseconds. So here TP is equal to 165 nanoseconds. Now, how to calculate the pipeline time? Now we need to calculate the total pipeline time. How to calculate the total pipeline time? Total pipeline time is equal to K plus N minus 1 into TP. What is K? K is the number of segments. What is the number of segments? The number of segments will be equal to 5 or equal to 5. Plus, what is N? N is the total instructions, the number of tasks that are getting executed within the pipeline. That is equal to 100 minus 1 into TP. TP is equal to, I don't need to write TP. TP is equal to, as we calculated, it is 165. So the answer will be equal to 104 into 165. Let us calculate what is 104 into 165, which is equal to 17160 nanoseconds. For your flexibility, I'm writing here that K is equal to number of segments. N is number of tasks or instructions. And how to calculate the pipeline time? The pipeline time is given with a formula, that is K plus N minus 1 into TP. As the K is equal to 5 and number of tasks is equal to 100, K plus N minus 1 will become 104. 104 into 165. What is 165? That is TP. Well, how to calculate TP? TP is the max stage delay plus max register delay, which is equal to 165. After which we're going to get 104 into 165. The total pipeline time will be equal to 104 nanoseconds into 165. So the total number of nanoseconds is equal to 17160. This is the answer. Thank you. Hello everyone. Let us solve a question which is on cache associativity from the topic memory. This question was given in GATE 2021 for 1 mark. This is a simple question and this can be solved very simply by looking at the details that are given. Consider a set associative cache of size 2 KB. Now here, let us segregate the details. The first detail that is available, that first information that is available is about the size of the cache. Cache size is equal to 2 KB. 2 KB means 2 power 11. So the number of address bits that are required in order to access cache is equal to 11. The number of cache address bits is equal to 11 with a cache block size of 64 bytes. Here I will write here block size is equal to 64 bytes. So the block offset will be equal to 6 digits, because I will write it here, since 2 power 6 is equal to 64. The number of bits that are required to address each and every word of the block is equal to 6. This can also be called as a block offset. Block offset requires 6 digits. Assume that the cache is byte addressable and a 32-bit address is used for accessing the cache. Total address, that is, system is using a 32-bit address. So one address in the system that is used to either access cache memory or the main memory is equal to 32-bit. The total system address size is equal to 32-bit. I will draw the block diagram of an address here. Total size of the address is equal to 32. This is the thing. If the width of the tag field is equal to 22 bits, what is the associativity of the cache? We need to find out the associativity. You know that the associativity will be starting from direct mapping, cache mapping techniques, sir, direct mapping, and set associative mapping. Okay. If there is no associativity, it can be considered as a direct mapping, and if there is an associativity, it can be considered as set associative. This set associative can be either 2-way or 4-way or 8-way or so on. Okay, now we need to find out what is the associativity of the cache, which is pretty simple to do. Initially, we divide the total address into 2 fields. The first one is the index field, and the second one is tag field. So what is the index? Index is the total number of bits that are needed to address cache. Total number of bits that are needed to address the cache is 11, because the cache size is equal to 2 KB. If it is 2 KB, the total number of address bits for cache is equal to 11. Cache address bits can also be called as index bits, as you already know. So the index part will be equal to 11. And the total size is equal to 32. Index, I will write it here clearly. Index part is equal to 11. The total size of the address is equal to 32. From the 32, if we subtract 11, the remaining will be the initial tag digits. The initial tag digits are equal to 21. So the index is equal to 11 and the tag is equal to 21. And the index will be subdivided into two more fields, that is the word field. Word field can also be called as a block offset. Block offset is equal to 6 digits. Okay. And 11 minus 6 is equal to 5 digits here. So I do have a total of 2 power 5 lines in the cache. With each line is of a size 2 power 6 words, rather 2 power 6 bytes, whatever you call. And the tag field is equal to 21. So this is the initial procedure to divide index plus tag. This procedure is a direct mapping. You know that if you go to set associative, first of all, we need to divide the bits as index and tag as in the direct mapping. In the direct mapping, we got 21 bits for tag, 5 bits for line field, and 6 bits for the word field. This line field can also be called as a block field. This is a direct mapping anyhow. Now, what is set associating? Set associativity will start from two-way. In two-way set associativity, block field is equal to block field minus 1 and the tag field is equal to tag field plus 1. If it is two-way, block is equal to block plus 1, tag is equal to, block is equal to block field minus 1, tag is equal to tag field plus 1. So we will subtract 1 from here and we will add 1 to this field. This is two-way set associativity. When it comes to four-way set associativity, it will become as block is equal to block minus 2, tag is equal to tag plus 2. But we don't need to practice four-way because the total number of tag bits as in the question are 22. So in the two-way set associativity, if we subtract 1 from block, it will become 5 minus 1, which is equal to 4. And same thing if it gets added to the tag field becomes 22, which is in the case of two-way set associativity. So the associativity given in the question is two-way. Once again, how to solve this question? Initially, you need to draw the block diagram of the address. The total address is equal to 32. Initially, we'll get divided into two fields. One is index and one more is tag. What is index? Index is the total number of bits that are required to represent cache. Number of represented address bits for the cache is equal to 11. So the index is equal to 11. Remaining will be tag. What is tag right now? Tag is equal to initially 21. After which the index will be further subdivided into word field and line field or block field. Both will be one and the same. What is the word field? Word field is the block offset. The number of bits that are required to represent the block. As the block size is equal to 64, we require 6 digits for the word field. And the remaining 5 bits will be for the number of blocks, the block field. So after the initial division as in the direct mapping, we do have 21 bits for the tag, 5 bits for the block, and 6 bits for the word field. This is the direct mapping. When you go for set associative mapping, block field is equal to block field minus 1, tag field is equal to tag field plus 1. Now, after set associativity, two-way set associativity, tag field is becoming 22 bits. We don't need to go anywhere because the given number of tag bits in the question is equal to 22. So the exercise mapping is two-way set associativity. So the associativity of the cache is two-way. This is the answer for this.